Hi everyone, the Crypto Scout is back with another exciting and interesting interview to present to you. Today it is with Garfield Ivy, who built his own blockchain. Specifically, if I understood what his concept correctly, it is for literally not just one artist, but one album. So a blockchain to basically buy, sell, trade an album of music. And I just want to say that this particular project is a little bit small, but it's really exciting because it provides a beautiful proof of concept of what blockchain can do in regards to music. So I believe that Internet 1.0 basically broke the music industry, the ability for people to file share, basically broke the previous existing system of how musicians made money. So the blockchain, Internet 3.0 basically, is now going to bring justice back to the music industry. So I think we could potentially see a great blockchain, potentially Essence Protocol. I think that's what they're trying to do, but I could be mistaken. But there could be, who knows, any number of other blockchains, maybe one per artist or even per album, that does in fact remedy the problem that faces musicians in the world today, which is basically piracy. So if you find this interesting, give me a like and subscribe, please. It means the world to me as I am bootstrapping this channel now. So please enjoy the interview with Garfield Ivy. Hi everyone, we're here with Garfield Ivy. Or do you go just by Ivy, or do you go by Garfield?
I go by both. So Ivy's actually my middle name, and it's also my stage name when I
Awesome.
perform.
Awesome. Okay. For the interview, we'll call you Ivy then.
Yeah,
Cool. All right. Well, I met you originally at the Tulip Conference in San Francisco. He did something really interesting. He basically did a pitch, and mid-pitch, he basically just like started unbuttoning his shirt, and he just started like basically rapping his one of his newest songs he just put out. So it was really awesome, really interactive and exciting, and everybody was looking as like, whoa, didn't expect this. So that was a lot of fun. And I looked at your project, and I wanted to learn more, and I figured some other people might want to as well. So if it's okay with you, we can just jump right into it and ask you, what is your project? It's called Local, right?
correct. Yes. So Brian, it's a pleasure to have you. Great to meet you at the Tulip Conference, and I'm glad you have some questions about local. And let's jump right in. So local is pretty much a music-backed cryptocurrency built on Ethereum. So it's a ERC20 token, and what we're doing is creating a digital representation of the music. So there's actually two parts. The first part is the 7 songs, the musical playlist that we're creating, and then the second part is the digital representation, the tokens that are paired to the music. So literally, dependent on the reception of the music, will determine the valuation of the tokens. And this is something that we think is a really big deal because in the past, artists would generally have to go through the conventional recording labels or Kickstarter, GoFundMe route to get their project off the ground. But by doing so, oftentimes they either can't raise the capital or they lose the rights to the music for 7 to 10 years, which is something that we think is kind of ridiculous.
Wow, interesting. So is your token going to support only one playlist, or is it compatible with other playlists eventually as well?
That's a really good question. So when we first conceptualized the concept, we wanted to create a platform for all artists to pretty much do what we're doing right now. However, the initial time and the initial resources required to build a standalone platform independent of Ethereum was not feasible for our team. So we decided that the best thing to do is to demonstrate that this is a viable concept. It's something that can be done, and we can empower not only other artists, but other content creators such as writers, filmographers, bloggers. This is a very diverse concept that has multiple applications, not only to the music space.
Interesting. Okay, so for now it's basically in its like alpha phase, where it's a working concept, but you're kind of able to start inviting people to kind of join you on there at this point, or maybe down the road.
Exactly. So currently, our core team consists of myself, our CFO, Janice Lee, our COO, Brian Rodriguez, and our CTO, Bego Ahaya. The team, we've pretty much bootstrapped this project for the past 4 months, and now we've extended it to have a strategic partnership. So we have album album cre- album art creators and producers, musical producers for the instrumentals. Uh, so
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Can I ask, this is a funny question for some people, but it's always interesting to hear why you make something sometimes, because usually there's something that happens to you in your life where you're like, something was really cool or something would be really cool and it doesn't exist. So I'm going to make it or recreate it or improve upon something else. So why did you end up making the local coin?
So that's a great question. I have to take a step back and talk about my background first to lead up to like why all these pieces came together. So I got into to blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, uh, sophomore year of college. I wrote a term paper about Bitcoin. Is this a cryptocurrency for the future? Got bit by the Bitcoin bug, deep dive blockchain, so on and so forth, and I became an evangelist for the next 2 years. The following year, after I wrote that term paper, I started consulting, started helping peers, family members, even professors understand Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, so on and so forth. I helped them understand why cryptocurrency is such a big deal. And uh, I remember watching a video of Vitalik say these are colored coins. These are colored coins, and they can have multiple use cases. And I was like, wait, why can't they have a use case for music? And also, I've created music in the past. I've created 7 songs, 2 music videos. I performed on campus, performed at Cornell University, performed at Harvard Business School, performed internationally in France. And I was like, why don't we have a music-backed cryptocurrency? And I looked in the space, looked to see if anyone else was doing that. And I saw a couple projects. I saw Vest, saw Dramatic, saw Singular DTV. And what they were doing is pretty cool. However, it was not as focused. They had a lot of things that were on the side. For with Singular DTV, for example, they were more interested in ICO and the artists, the individual artists, Dramatic in that case. And then with Vest, they were more interested in ICO and the song and these things called initial song offerings. That was pretty cool, but we thought it doesn't really do much for the artists and their supporters and investors. We kind of want to empower those two demographics, the artists and the audience. And the best way to do that is to distribute and decentralize ownership of the music in a new way, a way that was not possible before the advent of blockchain, which is through these digital tokens.
Awesome. Wow, yeah, no, that's really interesting. You mentioned ISO. That's just that'd be totally revolutionary for the entire music industry as well, because ICOs are still very new. Initial coin offerings.
Exactly.
Sometimes I almost at least once a week I'll have a conversation. I'll mention that and they're like, "What's an ICO?" And I'm like, "Initial coin offering." It's like an SEO, but for blockchain space or cryptocurrencies. Anyways, yeah, that's really interesting. So what would you say originally got you into the blockchain space? Like, what captivated your attention and make you be like, I need to learn more about this because clearly something's happening, and you had to learn more.
Well, what struck me was the finite properties of Bitcoin. I remember I got exposed to it that same year. I wrote the term paper during my econ course, and we're learning about supply and demand. And I think I came across Bitcoin on the internet, and I was like,
What
wait,
year was
it,
that?
this was 2015,
Nice,
so
nice,
about 3 years
cool,
ago. And
cool.
I saw that it was finite, 21 million. And then I read some more, and it said the last Bitcoin would be mined in 2,140. And I said, whoa, this is pretty far out. Like, we have computer scientists who are doing this, learned about Satoshi Nakamoto, and just kept on learning more. I was literally learning heavily for a solid 3 months. There were no courses at Cornell about Bitcoin or blockchain, so it was all independent. independent research, and it's very much is that way to this date. There are a few graduate courses taught by Professor Green. However, for the most part, it's still an extremely novel space, extremely new. Not a lot of structured courses on it yet.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's the same experience I'm having on the West Coast in San Francisco. It's like even some of the most well-known universities, they're just bootstrapping their like graduate programs because they need graduates to basically study it more because the professors themselves don't understand it well enough. So that's why there's no courses for undergrads, is because there's no professors out there that can really consider themselves experts. Because I mean, historically, experts usually come from business and not from academia. So yeah, that's really interesting. Good for you. Earlier you mentioned that it's a ERC20 token. Can you just clarify like the how you're making it? It's just built on Ethereum, right?
essentially, it's just it's a coin built on Ethereum. We didn't want to go to 720, the ERC 721 route, just because we wanted all these coins to be of the same value and of the same properties. Just so that when we host concerts, when we allow supporters to redeem merchandise, we want all of the tokens to have the same value. We want them all to be fungible, and that was something that we wanted going in. We didn't want it to be just something that's based on a single property of the token. We want all the tokens to be interchangeable. And a bit about our tokenomics is that we're creating two billion LOT. So LOT stands for local token, and we're issuing a half of that to the general public. Last week we actually had our our pre-game launch where we had a whole bunch of supporters come out to Midtown Manhattan, Times Square. We did a demo of the project. We performed the lead single blockchain once more. Also went through our PowerPoint, spoke about what the project is, what we hope to accomplish. The underlying goal of local is not just to create the token and host these events and host these concerts. It's really to empower all content creators and encourage them to explore blockchain as a viable option for bootstrapping, because we're still in the education phase in this space, and we're even if we're a business, we're a big proponent of our value prop is to educate others. Before someone wants to get involved, they want to understand it. And for them to understand it, they have to learn about it. So education is still extremely pivotal, even though we're focused on the business aspect of the blockchain space.
That's fantastic. That's really actually good to hear, because so many people are really trying to monetize, and they're trying to like go into the future, but they're leaving behind the masses, right? So I'm personally definitely a firm believer that to really get mass adoption, to get people to really understand and accept cryptocurrencies, we have to educate them more on blockchain. Like, for example, me personally, I didn't get involved until nearly the end of 2016. And what triggered my attention to the blockchain was actually the price of gold. I realized that the price of a single Bitcoin was getting close to the value of an ounce of gold. And that's when I said, okay, in 2010 and 11 and 12, I had heard little things about Bitcoin, namely. And I just, just discarded those thoughts, because I said, if it's on the internet, I think it can be hacked. I'm not going to even look into it. Sounds dumb. But when it got to the value of gold, I told myself, okay, I'm the idiot, not them. I'm the idiot. It's something for millions of people worldwide to place that kind of value on Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. I knew something revolutionary was amidst that I needed to learn about. So that's good on you for really going towards educating people as well as being a viable business product. But that's really exciting. When earlier you mentioned you guys have only been bootstrapping for 4 months, is that really all it's taken so far to get off the ground, or when did you like really start?
So Fago and our CTO, I I had the idea for the concept back in late January, early February, and started playing around with angles that we wanted to approach it while we're conducting research. And then by mid-February, we said, okay, this is something we want to do. Uh, this is the opportunity. This is the time. It just so happens that this is exactly the same time that the markets went in their downturn, and it actually has had a very challenging impact on our ability to scale and have the reception that we want. But we decided that hey, this has to get done. So we're going through it. There's actually more value in educating. There's more value in demonstrating than it is to just like pack up and shut down. So we continue going forward, and we worked all of March doing the business plan first. Actually, we did a business plan first before we did a white paper because we wanted to
Good.
make sure
That's a good
this would
idea.
be sound.
That's definitely a good idea, though. You definitely want to do that. You want to know what you're trying to do before you just write a white paper of like, this is the concept. You got to figure things out one step at a time. That's very good.
Precisely. So we did a business plan, sent it to a whole bunch of my mentors and some friends at Cornell. They came back and they said, "How are you going to make money?" We said, "Well, we're going to make money by having people support it through buying the tokens and then going to events where they can use their tokens to have priority access." It's like, oh, that doesn't sound that viable. Well, it actually is viable because the current way the music industry is set up, an artist actually makes $0.005 per Spotify stream. So for an artist, so crypto style, let's say that you have an audience of 10,000, an audience 10,000 people, and they all listen to your song one time on Spotify. You only make $50, and that's a pretty sizable following. $50 does not begin to cover the costs of creating the music, of
Right.
marketing the music, of
Right.
even like going and hosting events.
Right.
Actually, artists like uh, Chance the Rapper and Macklemore, they've made a sizable amount of their revenue from going on tour and hosting events. A significant portion of an artist's revenue comes from actually being there in person. There's a lot of value to being there in person. And uh, YouTube Red, Apple Music, Spotify, these streaming services, they pretty much have control of the finances of an artist's work. So for an artist to actually be able to make money, they have to like put themselves out there, and that's actually become more hard because of these things called 360 deals. A 360 deal is a contract that a recording label does with another musical artist, where they cut off everything, not just the royalties, not just the licenses, not just the streams, but also the tours. They go on tour, they sell merchandise, the recording label gets a cut of everything, and that makes it extremely hard for an artist to really
Make
build
money.
out their fan base, make money, sustain themselves. So
Yeah, no, that's really. I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I originally, when I looked into your project, I thought that's what you're kind of trying to go after. Because right now, it's clearly just not fair. Just in every
no,
way, if you get signed to a major label, like the chances are your agreement is going to be taking advantage of you, which is why most musicians today, including the most famous ones, make the vast majority of their income actually on tour, which kind of sucks, right? Because the cool thing about music is that once it's recorded, you should be able to make a livable wage sitting at home for the rest of your life. I think. I mean, you know, if I knew of, you know, Michael Jackson or Bon Jovi, anyone famous in the beginning or middle of their career, and they couldn't get by just kind of chilling for a minute, they had to constantly be on tour. Like that's just it's common knowledge. It seems like it should be common sense that like that's just taking advantage of these people. We clearly, you know, we love their product. I know
exactly.
I'm personally into a lot of kind of niche genres on the side, and those artists, they like live on the road. I don't know when they're home, but they do tour after tour after tour, usually 2 tours a year, which is usually about like close to 10 months of the year, which is really ridiculous. So
Exactly. It's not very sustainable, and it does have a significant effect on your quality of life because
right,
if you're on tour, you're not easily in the studio to make more music for your supporters, for your audience, and your audience are the reason why you're on tour. So it's kind of like a catch 22.
Yeah, no, it's tough. And I'm glad that I think this is one of the biggest industries that blockchain actually can repair. Cause, you know, it goes back to like Napster and file sharing, LimeWire, all of these different, the Internet 1.0 came out and really disrupted a lot of different industries. And one of the ones that got hit the worst was, in fact, the music industry. So blockchain does have that opportunity to really rectify what's happened to a lot of musicians who haven't been able to make a living. I actually know, personally know an artist from Canada who I love her work. She's got a great voice and like sings really well, but like she has a day job and she's like, you know, every once in a while, maybe once a year, she goes on like a 3-month tour or 2-month tour, kind of short. And she's a rock star. And then she just goes back to a day job. It's like that kind of sucks. You know, you're like a rock star, but you can't make a livable wage. So, anyways, I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad that you and others are working on that. In fact, I might even. Do you know anything about Essence Protocol? Have you
No,
heard of
no,
them?
please tell us more. No.
Essence Protocol, you might want to just look into that. I'll do a separate video on it maybe sometime because I'm not an expert on their platform, but they're trying to do something similar, and they're all also very young, so they've got a long ways to go. But I think they're trying to get music on the blockchain to try to repair the music industry. So that's something to look into. I'd ask now, if you, how would you envision getting adoption? Like if you saw 1 million plus people know of your coin and accept it and want to use it, what would that look like? What would the best case scenario look like for you?
The best case scenario of having a local token out there is that
Yeah.
people hold on to the token, and that they hold on to the token as a form of representation, as a form of ownership, because the token represents the music. And I use this example all the time. If you had the option to own Bob Marley token, own one of Bob Marley's albums, the token representation of it, I think I would own a part of it because, well, first, he's no longer here. And second of all, Bob Marley is one of the greatest musicians of all time. Just like how individuals hold vinyl copies of music, we think it's possible to go ahead and hold a token because, first of all, vinyl copies, they are sometimes scarce. They're limited in their quantity, but we don't know. The vinyl company can go ahead and print out more. With a token, people who are diehard fans, people who got in early, who supported the project early,
Mhm.
and they have the tokens, then it demonstrates, hey, you helped get this project off the ground. You're a real fan. You're a real supporter. You're the core audience, and we're glad to go on this journey with you. So
That's interesting.
that's how I see it. I don't see it just for local token. I, I, I would like to see a world where we have Beyonce's tokens, Jay Z's tokens, Taylor Swift's tokens, Ariana Grande's tokens, and everyone has it in their pocket. Just like how we have Spotify and we have playlists with all of these artists' uh, albums and singles on it. It would be pretty cool to have our blockchain, our Bitcoin, our cryptocurrency wallet with a bunch of artist tokens in it. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I get that. That's really interesting. That'd be very cool. Also, if you find like a an artist before they're big, you're a fan, and you buy a lot more of their music than maybe what you need, and then over time you can actually sell their music for them with the coin. Is that kind of how it would work? Maybe if you bought more than what you needed for yourself.
That would be a pretty cool add-on to the core concept. The core concept would be is that you invest into the project while still on the ground floor before the project is live. And then
Mhm.
once the project is live, you can go ahead and use the token. You can use the lots to attend events and buy merchandise. And even just to hold on to it to say, yes, I help support, I help get this project off the ground. So the first single is actually completed. I'm glad you and the rest of the audience at Tulip enjoyed blockchain. It took about a month to really have the lyrics finalized and down to the point where I said, okay, I think the blockchain community will appreciate the lyricism of this song because it's coherent and the instrumentals are also pretty fire. So that was just the first song. The next two songs are, the second song is called Alexa, and it's about how the Alexa from Amazon is also pretty cool. She's better than Siri, so on and so forth. And Wakanda. I visited Uganda, and I'm also from Jamaica, so being able to attribute support and progress to my culture is something that is very important to me. So, and then of course we're gonna have a single called Local, which collectively represents the project.
Awesome, awesome. So, what would the roadmap going forward in the next year look like then?
Well, actually, we plan to release the entire playlist around August, around early August. So
Okay,
I'm
that's
actually
soon.
I'm in the studio every few days, recording, getting the vocals down. It is a bit challenging given the braces currently, but
Mm,
Kanye spit one of his best albums while he had a metal brace on from a car accident, so it's not impossible. It is
not impossible.
possible, and we will get it done. So,
Nice, nice. Stay positive. All right. Well, thank you so much. I think that basically summarizes it. I think I've learned a lot, and I hope the audience has too. If you guys would like to learn more about local, where can they find you, Ivy?
oh, we can be found at www.iv.land/local token. And please feel free to join our Telegram group. We got a lot of priority information in there. Uh, Telegram
I'll
forward
put that.
slash
Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes. You
publication.
guys just look in the show notes, and you can find the Telegram group and their website. That's fantastic.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for
Awesome.
your time, Ivy.
Awesome. Crypto Scout, thank you so much for having us. It was a pleasure.
Excellent, excellent. All right, signing off. Have a good one, guys.
Take care.